Raider Nation, happy Monday. It's Mitchell Renz, your host of the Raiders Report, and coming up live on today's show, the main reason why you guys are probably clicking into this video, I spoke with Josh Jacobs' team. They gave me some updates on what type of contract the star running back is looking for, and they also gave me some inside information on the most recent meeting between the Raiders and between Jacobs' team. That's going to be coming up here in about 15 minutes. Then we're going to get into the latest around the Raiders potentially trading up. To Sean Reed from The Athletic notes that the Silver and Black are looking to move up. However, what if it's not into the top three? I'll tell you everything based on that report and give you my 2 cents on what it could potentially mean for the Silver and Black. Then I figured it'd be a fun little thing to do a post-mock draft or a post-combine mock draft for the Silver and Black, outlining some of the players that the Raiders met with. And if the draft were to be today, I thought it'd be fun to run a little mock. And personally, I think some of y'all are really going to like it. If you want to get those questions, comments on the show, you can use hashtag Raiders or Super Chat to get those questions, comments featured here first. So the main talking point is this. Will the Raiders re-sign Josh Jacobs? I am already up here telling you that the Silver and Black are not going to franchise tag the running back, and there is a certain thing that Jacobs' team is essentially waiting for to really get this ball going here, which I will outline in great detail when I do get into the latest here around the Raiders star running back. But give me a yes, give me a no. The NFL franchise tag deadline is tomorrow at 4 p.m. Eastern, and we've already had some news that has come out today, like L'Jarius Sneed, non-exclusive franchise tag for the Kansas City Chiefs, which doesn't really surprise anybody out there. The Dolphins, they're not going to tag Christian Wilkins, which I don't know about you, man. I was fist pumping here in the hallway at Chat Sports, but to the 700 people here that are live right now on the show, yes or no, I'm going to be giving some shout outs here. And if you want, you guys can give a nice warm welcome here to my man Jake Chipper stepping in for Jeremy Chugs today. What up, Chip? What up, Chip?
What up? What up? Doing good?
Appreciate you pulling up today.
Yes, sir.
Appreciate you. All right, we got Celesbo, Ron Raspberry, Gary McDonald saying yes. Raider Sancho. I also see Ruthless Raider, Queen Sarah Otto. A lot of yeses flowing in here. Akash says, we got Mr. Zombie said, yo, it's my birthday. Happy birthday to you, my brother.
Happy birthday!
The real crazy news, yes. I mean, bottom line, nothing but yeses in the comments. Justin Brown says no. And then he just deleted the message, which I saw really quick. Giovanni says yes. Bobby Johnson says yes. So I don't know if y'all can tell, but the nation wants Josh Jacobs back. And I'm telling you this, Jacobs' team, they're watching today's live show. So make sure you guys are on your best behavior. We will go back to some more Jacobs conversations here in about 10 minutes or so when we get into the latest around the conversations that have taken place over the past, we'll call it week or so. My next question is this. Should the Raiders trade up to picks 5 to 7? Because the latest report that is out right now is that the Raiders are obviously trying to trade up into the top 3. However, if that is unable to happen, could the Raiders potentially trade up to picks 5 and 7? And then what exactly is their plan? Is it to target another quarterback? Or could they even trade up to 5 or 7 like today, and then you're sitting there on draft night and a certain player ends up sliding down? Like, does that mean that the Raiders also then try to trade back into 1 and 3? A lot to uncover, but I am a big believer. And there's a lot of smoke, there's fire, a lot of conversations around it, and there is one thing that is clear. The Raiders are trying to trade up in getting a quarterback this offseason. So give me a yes, give me a no. Should the Raiders try to trade up to picks 5 and 7 here? Chip, when we have these type of conversations on the Raiders Report, if let's just say outside of Caleb Williams, Drake May, and Jaden Daniels, if you were an NFL team, would you trade up for any other quarterback?
I'm not doing it. I don't think it's worth it, especially for the Raiders. Where they're at, you're probably going to give up a first, right? A future first. To move up that much?
Oh, yeah.
I'm not doing it. I'm not doing it. Not for JJ, man. Not for JJ, not for Penix, certainly not Bo Nix.
Certainly not Bo Nix in there. But should the Raiders trade up to picks 5 and 7? I am seeing some yeses. I'm seeing some nos in there. And my biggest concern with doing this is I know Antonio Pierce wants Jaden Daniels. And to me, even if the Raiders do trade up to picks 5 or 7, I still actually believe that they are hopeful that they could potentially land Daniels. The question is, would you give up a first-round pick this year, so pick 13, a pick in next year's draft as well, and then you're just getting your maybe second choice at quarterback? It's a little bit risky here. To me, though, there are two names that continuously get brought up, and one of the names that some people are going to be like, well, what about Bo Nix? I don't think Bo Nix is even in this conversation to go top 10 anymore. To me, there are two other quarterbacks that could potentially go top 10 based on people who I talked to at the NFL Combine this past week. And the two names were this. Outside of the top three quarterbacks, the next names are Michael Penix Jr. and J.J. McCarthy. So if you had to pick, let's play a game here, right? Let's say the Raiders, they trade up to pick number 7 with the Tennessee Titans. You give up your first-round pick 13 this year, your first-round pick next year, and the hope was that Jaden Daniels was going to fall. He doesn't fall. So now the Raiders are like, well, shit, we already traded up. We are going to take a quarterback. If you're in this scenario, which quarterback would you take? Would you roll with J.J. McCarthy, type J.J., or would you go with Michael Penix Jr., type MP? I'll give some shout-outs after I answer the super chat here from Jay Ray. What up, Jay? Love you, Mitch. Thanks for keeping us informed. I look forward to all the news that you give us. Well, I love that everyone takes time out of their day to tune into the show. It does mean a lot to me. I take a lot of pride in keeping you guys up to date, and March is my favorite time of the year because this is where I can almost kind of flex what we do here at Chat Sports. You're not going to find anybody that outworks us. You're not going to find anybody that provides more content and information. And for today's live show, I am telling you, I spoke to Josh Jacobs' team, and I'm going to give you exactly what they told me because there is a lot of misinformation out there. There's some good information that's been reported, but I'm also going to tell you what somebody told me in their regards to, we'll call him an NFL insider that's putting out misinformation. Let's go to Dylan. What's up, Dylan? Saw Dan Orlovsky say that Drake May needs to sit for a year due to his bad footwork and his inconsistency. Your thoughts? I mean, I've seen a lot of things on Drake May. I know what I believe in May. To me, he is a quarterback that is ready to go right away. If you did want to have him sit a year, that's your call. To me, if that's the case, then you better have another plan at quarterback because Drake May, in my opinion, is already a top 16 quarterback in the NFL. Like, that's how confident I am. The other part is with Kirk Benkirk. He said that Drake May's got a weaker arm than Mason Rudolph. I'll tell you this, Mason Rudolph ain't throwing a football 80 yards. There's going to be people that have certain takes. And if I'm a guy like Dan Orlovsky, I don't mind taking a take that's maybe uncommon or maybe unpopular because if Drake does struggle, well, then people are like, oh, well, Dan Orlovsky had it right. Everyone's so confident on these quarterbacks. I'm confident on Drake May. Does he need to get better with his footwork? Yes. Is he inconsistent at times? Yes, no doubt about it. A lot of the times, though, the bigger factor is what team they end up landing on. What up, Rebel? If we get Daniels, Mitch, buy in the chat tacos. I'll tell you this, if they end up getting Jaden Daniels, we're going to be getting wild here on this show. That's a 100% guarantee. I hope that a trade happens before the NFL draft, but if I'm sitting here on draft night and we will be live for the entire thing, we will get the picks before you see them on TV. If that ends up happening,
there's nothing like a draft day trade, I'll say that.
I'll tell you this right now. I'm popping champagne.
Oh, it's getting wild.
We're popping champagne here. What up, True Raider? I knew Chugs was losing weight, but gosh darn. Yeah, so we went from Chugs, and now we got a chip.
People are saying Chugs is part-time now. They're saying he's a part-time producer.
Nah, so Chugs is doing a lot of other stuff here at Chat Sports. At the end of the day, the only person that is 100% guaranteed going to be here every show is me. And then we're starting to work more of a rotation. Chugs is doing his. We're going to get Chip in the mix. You're going to get my guy Trizzy Trace. Bottom line is, my big goal for this year is to get you guys more videos, more content. And the way that that's going to be possible is if I learn how to work with a bunch of other producers, because right now the Raiders Report puts out more content than any other, I guess, channel here at Chat Sports. And I'm trying to take it to the next level on top of that. So we're still working out a few of our things. I mean, it's our off-season too here, so just keep that in mind. Out of the 925 people that are watching the show, if anybody out there wants to get in for a chance to win a little bit of money, if you don't know what a duck race is, man, it's going to change your life. $10 Venmo at Mitchell Renz 365. We're going to do a 50-50 raffle. Bottom line is this. If we get, I don't know, 100 people to join this duck race right now, and then it's off to the mark, get set, go, 60 seconds. Whoever comes in first of that duck race, you are going to win $500. That's if we get 100 people in. So however many people we get in, end up half of that money, you guys end up winning it. Let's go to John Rodriguez, Super Chat, and then after this, I want to get into the news around Josh Jacobs because I don't want to wait any longer. Mitch, saw the combine on Saturday, very impressed with Penix in the end of the first or second. Here's the thing, and I'll get into the whole news here around Penix in just a second, but the biggest concern was his medical. Teams are not worried about his medical anymore. So if you know that you're not worried about his medical, his on-the-field ability, it's there. This guy can play in a bunch of different systems. Yes, you need to ensure that you're going to have yourself a solid offensive line. But one of the reasons why I'm intrigued by Penix with Tom Telesco is because Telesco is going to do everything in his power to make sure the Raiders have a solid offensive line this year. If you build a good offensive line, if you're able to get Penix in the back half of round 1, maybe even in round 2, it could start a very, very very different conversation than some of the conversations that we've already been having here on this show. So in terms of people that just got in this duck race, I see Justin Gilbert is the first one to enter. I'll tell you some other names that we end up getting in as the show progresses. We will do this 50-50 raffle at the very end of today's show. Good luck to everybody out there. I know on Friday we gave away some serious money here, and we're going to be doing stuff like this throughout the entirety of the offseason, so please don't go anywhere. But hey, who wants to talk a little bit about Josh Jacobs? If you want the latest on Josh Jacobs, spam me down below. And I saw Queen Sarah Otto was here in the chat. And if she saw that we had 1,000 people here and only 210 likes, she wouldn't be mad at you, Kevin, at Martin, at Agent Red. She would be a little bit disappointed, though. So if you haven't yet, don't do it for me. Don't do it for Chip. Click that like button for the Queen. Click that like button for all of the nation out there. And if you want to shout out here real quick, right before we get into the Jacobs news, let me get a sip of water. What up, Bell? What up, Mercer? Raider Sheep, Chris. I got Ill, Anonymous, Aaron Gray. You ready to talk about the latest with Jacobs? You guys ready to talk about the latest with Josh Jacobs? Well, let's get this thing going right now. Raider Nation, what's going on? It's Mitchell Renz here, host of the Raiders Report. I spoke with Josh Jacobs' team today, and I'm going to get into the latest around what is happening with the Raiders and Jacobs' contract. Before I get into that, though, today's show is presented by Manscaped. I'm hoping that Jacobs doesn't get a ballsy deal. I don't want it to be a deal that he looks like, and he's like, that deal is balls, man. If you look down there and you're like, that shit's not what... that ain't looking good, then go to manscaped.com, use code Raiders for 20% off and free shipping. So today's show is around this. We are going to get into all the information that is out there currently on the Raiders star running back Josh Jacobs, because the NFL franchise tag deadline, it is tomorrow, and the question still remains, are the Raiders going to franchise tag Josh Jacobs? I'm sitting up here telling you this. There is a 0% chance that the Silver and Black end up tagging Jacobs. So what does that mean going forward with this Raiders team? Is Telesco going to bring him back? Is Antonio Pierce going to make him bring him back? I got all this information here on today's show. So let's first go into a little bit of a deep dive of the latest around the Raiders, the NFL, and why we are even talking about this. So the tag deadline is Tuesday, tomorrow, March 5th at 4 p.m. Eastern Time. If you remember, the Raiders, they tagged Jacobs last offseason, but were able to get a one-year deal done right before the start of the season. If Las Vegas were to tag JJ, it would cost the Raiders $14.1 million. And the reason why it's a little bit more, it's because of the extra salary cap that has recently gone up. And Jacobs is a hell of a running back. The problem is, and Jacobs' team understands this, it's not a Raiders don't like Josh Jacobs thing. It is a NFL problem, not a Josh Jacobs problem, which is why they are not going to commit that $14.1 million. Based on multiple reports that have been out there, like we've heard it from Ian Rappaport, The Athletic has reported it. I said it 2 weeks ago. Maybe now it's even 3 weeks ago when I was at the Super Bowl talking to a bunch of people. Bottom line is nobody is paying a running back over $14 million per year in the year 2024. It's simply not going to happen. Here's the other thing, though. Jacobs, he knows, his team knows, that he's going to be one of the top running backs in 2024 NFL free agency. And on top of that, based off of what I've been told, the number one running back in free agency, it is Josh Jacobs. If you're like, Mitch, who are some other potential running backs that are going to hit the market? Derrick Henry, Tony Pollard, Saquon Barkley are probably the biggest other names. Austin Eckler, you could kind of throw in there for that one as well. And why it's so interesting this offseason, yeah, there's some good running backs in the draft, but this is one of the most talented running back pools that we have ever seen hit free agency. And the biggest reason of why all these talented backs are hitting the open market, it's because NFL teams don't value the running back position. So what do you think about this? This is going to be the pinned comment on today's show, which means it's the number one thing that I want y'all to answer. Will the Raiders re-sign Josh Jacobs? I want you to give me a yes. I want you to give me a no. And after this YouTube ad break is going to be my answer. Based off the conversations that I have had today with Josh Jacobs' team, my answer is yes. The Raiders are the favorites to sign Jacobs. However, I'll still say that it is a little bit of a coin flip, and the coin flip could be if another team is willing to give money to Jacobs that the Raiders are not willing to give. Jacobs does want to stay a part of this team. Jacobs' team wants him to remain a part of this team. But at the end of the day, if a team's willing to give him a longer contract or a bigger contract, that's where he is going to look, and that's where he is going to go. So is Jacobs going to be returning to Vegas? There have been reports out there that the Raiders are trying to re-sign him. Jeremy Fowler spoke to me during the Super Bowl and said that both Jacobs and the Raiders want to get a deal done. And if you remember, there was a report out there from Tony Pauline, which we will discuss here in a second. Tony Pauline said that the Raiders, Jacobs is open and that they're getting close to signing a one-year deal. I'll just say this, okay? In regards to Tony Pauline, in regards to the Raiders, in regards to Josh Jacobs, I want you to all look at me in the eyes right now, okay? Based off Jacobs' team and what they told me, if anybody listens to Tony Pauline, I'll say it again. If you think Tony Pauline's an insider, you also think Taco Bell is Mexican. I am looking at you dead in the eyes telling you that per Josh Jacobs' team, Tony Pauline has absolutely no connections with them, and anything that he reports, you should not take credible. So that's number one. Also, based on a combine source, Jacobs is the top running back in free agency and believed to be the only back that is going to get over $10 million per year. Based on a source close to me and Jacobs' team, option A, number one running back in free agency is Jacobs. Number two is Saquon Barkley. Large tier break, it's Derrick Henry. Large tier break, then it goes to the Austin Ecklers of the world. It goes to the Tony Pollards of the world. Then there's another very large tier break. Coming up next, though, the reason why you clicked on this show, the reason why you are all watching, and that is to get the latest on Jacobs. I'm going to tell you who Jacobs' team met with because that's important. I'm going to tell you how many years Jacobs is looking for in a contract and what they would be okay falling on. I'm going to tell you everything that everybody has been asking. What's the latest on JJ? Before I get into that, though, I got to give a shout out to today's sponsor, Manscaped. And I love Manscaped. So you know what? Top of the morning to you. That's what I said to Alex this morning when I woke her up. She was sleeping in a little bit. This episode, though, is brought to you by the St. Patrick's Day Shamrock Shavers, Manscaped. This year, don't just chase rainbows, make your own pot of gold, and groom your little leprechaun with the leaders in below-the-kilt care. Say goodbye to your clover forest with Manscaped's Lawnmower 5.0 and let your confidence shine bright. Embrace the luck of the Irish and join the 10 million men worldwide who trust Manscaped. Head over to manscaped.com and use code Raiders for 20% off and free shipping. Equipped with the dual LED spotlight, navigate your shamrock patch in peace. Worried you'll make a mess? Fear not, this wonder is waterproof. Shaved by the misty moors under a waterfall or even during a rain dance. So nation, get 20% off and free shipping with code Raiders at manscaped.com. That's 20% off and free shipping with code Raiders at manscaped.com. This St. Patrick's Day, make sure your little hairy leprechaun is luckier than ever with Manscaped. So the reason why I love the Manscaped products are they do work really well. They're super versatile. My other favorite product that they have is the boxers. To me, they are the most comfortable boxers that you could potentially find. So if you haven't got started, that link's going to be available to y'all down in the comments and in the description of today's show. Yep. Coming up next here, the latest on Josh Jacobs. Today, I spoke with Josh Jacobs' team, and I had a long conversation with them, about 20 minutes long, about where the Raiders are currently at, where Jacobs is at. And if you've been wondering where the focus is going to be heading forward, you are in the right place. So based off my conversations with Jacobs' team, they met with the Raiders at the Combine. So Jacobs' team and the Raiders met at the NFL Combine this past week. Jacobs' team wants Josh to stay in Vegas, and the Raiders have made it clear to Jacobs' team that they are trying to bring him back. Like, both sides. AP has said that he's the heart and soul. Tom Telesco has made it clear that they're trying to do right by the players to really build that strong bond again, to try to get those guys back, which is one of the things Telesco said. But the other part is, Jacobs has made it very clear to his agents, and the agents have made it very, very clear to the Raiders, Telesco and Antonio Pierce, that this is where he wants to be. If you're wondering how long of a contract is this going to be, unfortunately, those conversations have not happened. From what I am being told, the Raiders have not talked numbers or contract length yet with number 8. All that has been discussed is like a man-to-man type of conversation of, hey, I want to be here. Do y'all want me to be here? What I do think is important, and probably the most notable thing out of all this, is that Tom Telesco and Tom Delaney, so Tom Delaney is the one that works out the contract numbers for the Raiders, they met with Jacobs' team at the NFL Combine. And what's really important here moving forward is until Saquon Barkley and the New York Giants get a deal done, the Raiders want to see how this operates. And with the NFL franchise tag deadline tomorrow at 4 p.m. Eastern time, if the Giants end up tagging Saquon Barkley at $14 million, I'm telling you right now, Josh and his team, the number that they are going to ask for is $14 million. If that deal doesn't get done and Saquon's deal comes in, let's say a little bit later and looking for 12, the Raiders are going to ask for 12. So just like last offseason, Jacobs and Saquon, you really need to pay attention to what both of those teams, both of those players are doing. However, talking to Jacobs' team, they told me that the market that they believe is right now, their opening offer would be $14 million per year, because that is what Jonathan Taylor got. I'll admit to all of you, when talking to them, they kind of laughed out loud and said, we know that we're not going to get $14 million. However, $12 million should not be out of the realm of possibility. Jacobs' team would like a 2 to 3 year deal, and I know what has been being reported out there about him being okay with a 1 year deal. Realistically, that is not what Jacobs and Jacobs' team want. They do not want a 1 year deal, and Jacobs believes that he's the top running back on the market. Based off of what they were told at the Combine, it's Jacobs is 1A, Saquon Barkley 1B, tier break King Henry at number 3, tier break, and then it's like the running backs of Tony Pollard, and then there's another tier break of like DeAndre Swift, Austin Eckler. Bottom line is, if Jacobs believes that he's the top running back, and based off of what he's being told that he's the only back that's going to get over $10 million per year, I'm comfortably sit up here and say this. I originally thought the Raiders could get Jacobs at about $8.5 million. That's not going to happen based off my communications that I've had with Jacobs' team, which I feel like I've said 100 times. If you want to check out a video that I made last week about Josh Jacobs replacements, here it is. I'm going to put this video for y'all. It's going to be available in the comments. It's also going to be available to y'all in the description of today's show. Bottom line is, if the Raiders offer Jacobs a deal that he does not like and he does not return, then these are some other options. But you know what? It's not going to be easy to replace one of the best running backs in the National Football League. So coming up here, what type of contract Jacobs and his team are looking for going forward? Because there's a lot of unknowns. There's a lot of things that are going to change. And just because I'm saying this today, whole new information could come out tomorrow. Whole new information could come out next week. The bottom line and the most important message that you're going to get from all this, both sides want to get a deal done. So Jacobs' team would, in quotes, rather not do a 1 year deal. They told me that if we can get a 2 year deal with some good guaranteed, that would be okay. They also told me that a 3 year deal with 2 years guaranteed would be okay. I know one of the things that Jacobs got hung up on last year was around the guaranteed money and the longevity of his contract. And with the agency, with Jacobs himself, like if the Raiders offer him a very lucrative deal at a 1 year deal, like he might be willing to take it. The problem is it's not going to be more than $14 million. You already know that it's going to be less than that. To me, the best options that the Raiders have, 2-3 year deal for Josh Jacobs, and based on my conversations with his team, that is now what I am going to project going forward. I am not going to sit up here and expect that the Raiders get a one-year deal done with Jacobs. Like, if it's a lot of money up front, sure. But based off my conversations, it sounds like it's going to be a 2 to 3 year deal. So how about this? I'm going to show you what I am going to project. Now, the numbers that you were going to see were not numbers that Jacobs gave me. They are not numbers that Jacobs' team gave me. I am simply putting together a projection based off my conversation today with Jacobs' team on what I could see the Raiders and Jacobs doing to get a deal done going forward. Before I show you those numbers, I want you to project what Josh Jacobs' contract could be for the Las Vegas Raiders. To me, option A for Las Vegas and Jacobs is a 2-year, $22 million deal with $15 million guaranteed. The reason why this is the number that I'm going to throw out there is because the Raiders, I don't know, with the franchise tag at $14 million, if you're only going to do 1 year, $14 million deal, that's one thing. If you want to do a little bit extra money for 2 years, $22 million, $15 million guaranteed, that's option A. Option B could be a 3-year deal, $30 million in total, with $20 million of that guaranteed. What I was essentially told is, if this was not a running back, that they believe that he could easily get a deal of $15 million per year. The problem is the running back market and where it is at right now. So the numbers that you see below, I just want to clarify again, are not numbers that I was given. They are simply numbers based off of projection, off of everything that I was told today by Josh Jacobs' team. At the end of the day, though, I want somebody that wants to be a member of this team, and I want somebody that is willing to go balls to the wall. From what I was told, he's motivated, and he wants to prove to Raider Nation that he's going to have the best season he's ever had. All right, will the Raiders re-sign Josh Jacobs? And while I was away, some breaking news here. The Denver Broncos are moving on from Russell Wilson, which was expected, and that he is going to be released after the league year begins March 13th. If you haven't checked out my video before, I put out a video about 2 months ago of why the Raiders could potentially sign, Russell Wilson. And I talked about it in the regards of the vet men. I want to make this very clear. I am about 100% confident that I am the first person amongst Raider Nation, Raiders, whoever, to throw out the idea of bringing in Russell Wilson on a vet minimum type of contract, and that was just solely based on the information that we were given. So, we'll get into a little bit of Russell Wilson conversation if you want to get into that, but after hearing everything that I just communicated, will the Raiders re-sign Josh Jacobs? Because it's going to be interesting, no doubt about it. I'm confident that the two sides do get a deal done based off of the information that I was given, but we've also seen all it takes is one team, and I don't know who that team's going to be. What if the Ravens say, all right, Jacobs, we'll give you more money? Or what happens if a team like the Buffalo Bills step in and say, all right, we're going to give you more money? All it takes is one team to offer Jacobs a longer-term deal and a little bit more money to really F up the entire plan. Let's see what we got here. We got Jay. He says, yes, Huey. I don't think he did. I love my man Wasted, but if he beat me on this, that's fine. I just don't think that he did. Dan says, Wilson blows. Joe Gatlin, no. Somebody said, get Swift. AP don't want a Band-Aid quarterback. That's 100% right. Let's go to Dan R. If the top 3 quarterbacks are out, should we target Byron Murphy and pick up Rattler or Joe Milton with our second pick? Both of these quarterbacks look good at the combine. I wouldn't take Joe Milton, period. Like, nah.
You're a Milton guy.
If Joe Milton's available in the 6th round, I'll consider it.
6th round. All right. I thought you were talking 2nd round.
No. I think he's talking about 2nd round. Joe Milton's not a quarterback you draft in the first 5 rounds. You just don't do it. He's such a bad quarterback. He's a good athlete. He's got a strong arm. Not a good QB. I would rather the Raiders, even Spencer Rattler, not really a quarterback I want to take in round 2. Rattler is more of a guy that I would target in round 3. I would rather the Raiders draft Spencer Rattler in round 3 than them drafting Bo Nix at pick 13. I'll tell you that every single day.
Oh, absolutely.
Every day. Seth, Russell Wilson just got released. Correct. Russell Wilson did just get released. I can try to find my video that I put out on Wilson if I go on YouTube here real quick. Like I said, I did this one, probably over 2 months ago. And it was regarding once the Broncos release him. Yes, 2 months ago. If you guys want to go check it out, it's going to be, some of the information is going to be a little bit old. But in terms of why the Raiders should at least flirt with the idea of signing Wilson, it's in that video right there. So if you guys want to go check it out, click on that link. Do it after you watch today's show. Remember, if anybody wants a chance to win a little bit of money, it is a $10 Venmo at Mitchell Renz 365. Justin Gilbert, my good friend, you are in. I see Jose Garcia, you in. Johnny Caldera, you in. Isidro Peri, you in. I see Matt Lozano in. Matt Faluhi is in twice, which means as it stands right now, $10 Venmo, you'd have an opportunity to win $35 here on the Raiders Report, and we're going to do that at the very, very end of today's show. So I just saw that all the Russell Wilson news, all this kind of stuff. I do want to tweet something out here, at least really quick. So just give me 1 second. Spoke about the Raiders signing Russell Wilson for the vet minimum 2 months ago. Check it out.
What's everybody's thoughts here on Russell Wilson?
Yeah, you're talking to the wrong group. Let's just say that.
Not some fans. I think he still has it. Not what he used to.
Well, I mean, I think at the end of the day, like, if you told me I can get Russell Wilson at $1.21 million, which is the plan that's I've kind of laid out there, I mean, to me, you at least got to entertain the idea. I want the Raiders to trade up for a quarterback. I want the Raiders to get Jaden Daniels. But there's also a world of, would I rather have Russell Wilson as the Raiders starting quarterback at $1.21 million, or would I rather have Aiden O'Connell at his contract? Like, no disrespect to Aiden, I'm going to take the better quarterback at technically the cheaper value in Russell Wilson, someone who's got top 15 quarterback potential. Like, I don't know if Russ is going to be winning the Super Bowl with the silver and black. However, though, like, if you're just trying to upgrade at the QB position, I do think you have to at least entertain the idea around it. Let's go to John. Dream scenario, Murray at 13, and then Penix at the end of the first round. I'm not going to call that a dream scenario just because I don't think it's the best case scenario. Like, to me, the best case scenario is Jaden Daniels falls out of the top 3 and you're able to trade up and go get him. Like, I'm not going to sit here and say a dream scenario, Jaden Daniels falls to 13. That's simply not going to happen. But I don't think it's impossible to believe that Jaden falls out of the top 3 and then the Raiders have an opportunity to go get their guy. Like, to me, that's dream scenario, because if you don't get your franchise quarterback, you're just dreaming anyway. Let's go to Nico. Best thrower at the combine was Penix. Also, this whole line class is insane. It's stacked. Going to be really quality guys outside of round 1. Russ better than AOC. Yeah, I mean, I don't really think anybody honestly thinks that Aiden O'Connell is a better quarterback than Russell Wilson. I understand that some people probably, I like Aiden O'Connell way more than Russ. Like, if you told me which players in the NFL I hate the most, number 1, probably Deshaun Watson. Number 2 is probably Russell Wilson. And I only hate Patrick Mahomes because he's the greatest quarterback on the face of the planet right now. Like, I mean, those are the players I hate the most. However, though, and I think every Raider fan probably agrees with me on this, if you added Russell Wilson to this team and then they went to the playoffs, I think people would defend Russ, because if he's your quarterback, then that's gonna be the guy that you defend. Like, I don't do this show just to back up players all the time. Like, I don't care what players think of me. I don't care what fans think of me. All I care about is I'm going to give my opinion based off of what I truly believe is the best case scenario for the Las Vegas Raiders. And Russell Wilson at $1.21 million is a better option than Aiden O'Connell at his current deal. If you disagree with me on that, hey, it is what it is. You know, like, I don't want every single person that watches the show to disagree with me. And, you know, I saw it earlier, I had over the weekend a few people send me, a Raiders YouTuber said that him and I got beef. I mean, to me, it was only beef on his end. I got no beef with anybody really amongst Raider Nation. Like, if you want to disagree with me on a topic, would rather you disagree with me on a topic and tell me about it. Let's just have an adult conversation about it. Like, I think like that's a lot of the time where people just get their feelings too much into it, and then all of a sudden it just turns into an unhealthy conversation. I saw the video. I got nothing bad to say about the guy. At the end of the day, if people are able to make content using my name and they're able to get people to watch their videos based off of my name and my face, hey, That's a great thing. To me, that just is a pat on my back and saying that we're doing the right things here at the Raiders Report. Let's go to Patrick B. I don't see the point in trading up for the quarterback you want isn't there. Definitely not trying to give up draft capital on a player we didn't want in round one. I'm with you, Patrick. Like, to me, the only way I'm trading up for a quarterback is if I believe that he's going to be there. And when I hear the reports of the Raiders could trade up to picks 5 or 7, I mean, that makes me want to pull my hair out because that just scares the hell out of me. Because then you're almost forcing yourself to do something that you might not want to do. Like, what if the Raiders don't actually want to draft Michael Penix Jr.? What happens if the Raiders don't actually want to draft J.J. McCarthy or Bo Nix or whoever? They just trade up to 5 and 7 in hopes on draft night that it's helpful for them, a little bit easier to plan and figure out a way to go get Jaden. Then Jaden's not there. If you trade up to that point, you're like, well, now we got to take a quarterback. And then what does that remind me of? You doing another reach in a position that you don't need to reach for in round one. Like, yes, the Raiders need to find a quarterback, but I am fan of best player available unless you're able to go get Jaden, Drake May, or Caleb Williams. What up, Thugador? Hey, Mitch, hope we get Jaden Daniels and build around him on the O-line. Also, it's my birthday tomorrow. All right, well, we'll be live here on the Raiders Report tomorrow, 4 p.m. Eastern Time. Thugador, make sure you remind me. We'll sing a little happy birthday to you, or if I see you down in the comments, I'm usually pretty good at remembering birthdays and whatnot. To me, though, I know that Telesco is going to try to build this offensive line. The Raiders need to focus on building the line, and quite frankly, when you look at the free agency pool and then you especially look at the draft, it's kind of the perfect year to try to rebuild your O-line. Let's go to John. What up, John? What do you think of NFL going to an 18-game regular season? This might be an unpopular opinion for some, but this has actually been something that I have pounded my fist on the table for probably 2-3 years, and I've always said this: let's get rid of the preseason. If you want to do one preseason game, I had a conversation with Nick Kwiatkowski about 2.5 years ago in Vegas that kind of changed my idea of preseason, and he told me, he's like, there's a lot of NFL players that might never get their shot, and the only time that they ever get a chance to actually play in the NFL is in that preseason. And he told me, like, flat out, like, I remember my first preseason game more than I remember a lot of other NFL games, and it's an opportunity for you to play on that stage, and then there's an opportunity for you to potentially sign for the CFL, the XFL, whatever these other football leagues are, but it's also a chance for other teams to just see what you are and what you can do. But my point has always been this: if I'm the NFL, I do 2 bye weeks. If I'm the Raiders, if I'm the NFL, you do 2 bye weeks. Even if you do 17 games, 16 games, I've always said do 2 bye weeks where a team gets that extra rest. You get one earlier in the season, like you're getting a bye week in September and October, and then every single NFL team gets a bye in September, October, and then you get another one in November and December. Like, I love the idea of watching NFL football on Sunday, and there's all these games at the 1 o'clock slot. What if you just did the 1 o'clock slots, as many games as you did like the Raiders slots at 4 o'clock, Sunday night football, Monday night football, you can do a Thursday night football type of ordeal, and then instead of having, 7, 8 games at that 1 o'clock slot, you just go to 6 games at that 1 o'clock slot, and then those 4 teams that are just getting that extra rest, it's their bye week. Like, you can't expect guys to do what they do on a weekly freaking basis to their body and just keep on adding games. Like, I think it would be smart, and I think it's only a matter of time before teams add that extra bye week if you're going to go to this extra game. But I'm on board. More football means more opportunities for these guys to make more money. It also means I get more opportunities to hang out with y'all. What up, Raider Gaines? I like Jaden and AP, but thinking back to Hugh Jackson and Carson Palmer, I kind of worry that AP may make the same mistake Hugh did with Palmer. Do you think AP will be too biased with Jaden? I had this conversation actually this weekend. I ran into a Raider fan at the grocery store, and he was like, what's your biggest worry about Antonio Pierce? And I said, my biggest worry with Antonio Pierce is, this is going to freak some people out when I first say this, but I was like, I'm worried that he's going to go Josh McDaniels' path of where, AP's like, I'm just going to bring in my guys because they're my guys. I don't care anything else, but they're my guys. Now, that's kind of what Josh McDaniels did. It was like, all right, were you a Patriot previously? Yes. Were you on our team before? Yes. All right, doesn't matter. That's going to be the fit. You're one of our guys. And to me, you still have to be able to evaluate talent, fit, overall. Like, all that goes into communication. The other thing, though, that Antonio Pierce has that Josh McDaniels never had was the ability to lead, the ability to communicate, the ability to be a good teacher. And quite frankly, I didn't agree with a lot of the things that McDaniels did. It's probably why I was CEO and chairman of the Fire Josh McDaniels Club, a lot of the things that Antonio Pierce does, represents, and are things that I rally behind, that I can get on board with. And Jaden has been a quarterback that I've been very vocal on this show saying, like, he's a QB that I would welcome with open arms. So I am okay with Jaden, and I'm okay with the bias, but that's just because I believe in Jaden Daniels as the player, as the quarterback, and most importantly, as the leader. You need to find somebody that can lead, and Jaden Daniels has done a phenomenal job, no matter where he's been, at trying to be the best leader that he's possibly been. And you pair that with Antonio Pierce, I think it's a good recipe for success. I'm going to refresh my phone. I'm going to tell you everyone who is in our 50-50 raffle for our duck race, and then I want to get into the next segment here. It's around a report with the Silver and Black trading up, not into the top 3, but the picks 5, 6, and 7. Yeah. Oh, man, it gets me nervous. I'll tell you this. I am so excited for free agency. I am so excited for the NFL draft. If you're watching the show for the very first time, because I see right now we got over 1,300 people here in the building, hit your subscribe button. But seriously, I know all year I say subscribe, turn on the notifications. I try to say it every show because I know people are like, don't realize that you can subscribe and that you can watch the show for free. But I am looking at you all right now telling you this upcoming, we'll call it 2 months, March, April, there is no more important time for you to have those notifications on. There is no more important time for you to be subscribed, because the amount of videos that y'all are going to get in the next 7 weeks is probably the most videos that you're going to get all year, even more in the regular season. Why? Every time the Raiders sign somebody, I'm going to be here going live. Every time news happens, we're going to be here, balls to the wall, and I don't want you to miss anything. All right, let me give a few shout-outs here to some of the people that are in. The last name that I got in was Mr. Matt Fluhey, and since then, buckle up. I got Salvador Mena, you, sir, are in. I got Rick Aguilar, you are in. Jason Ebclass is in twice. Jason E.B. Oh, man. Anthony, the last name I can't pronounce. Marigil in. Anthony Marigil, you are in again. I got Justine Gonzalez is in. Salvador Lucas is in twice, which now we are at, oh boy, winner would get, I want to say, $80. Johnny B. Good is in. Baltazar, you are in. Johnny B. Good is in again. And then J. B. Good in again. Holy crap. J. B. Really good. And then I got Savannah Quintana, you are in. So let me just refresh my phone one more time. Robert D. L-I-B, and then Johnny B. Good. So right now, the winner would get, if my math is mathing correctly, $10 Venmo for a chance to win $120. Adrian, what do you think on J.J. McCarthy hype going in the top 3? I'll discuss it here in a little bit. I'm telling you this right now, J.J. McCarthy is the one quarterback based on people that I talked to at the Combine, based on who our team talked to at the Combine, the scouts that I talked to, I think is the player that is giving people the most fits. Like, there are some people that would take him in the top 3. There are other people who I've talked to that wouldn't take him in the top 32 picks, right? So it's kind of depends like who you've talked to, which GMs are talking about what, but I also know that this is the prime time of a lot of smoke season. Lot of smoke season. What up, Anthony? Realistically, I don't see us being able to move up for Jaden Daniels, so let's move back, grab Michael Penix, use the extra picks to beef up the O-line for the few next years. We'll see. You know, like, I think it's always funny. Every single year we always talk about, oh, like, this is going to happen. This will never happen. And then, like, I remember last year the amount of times like I would talk about Will Levis potentially falling out of round 1. And people are like, oh, it's never going to happen. Sometimes shit happens, man. Like, you never, ever know what is going to happen. And then as soon as the draft starts, anything's up for grabs. Like, there's a chance that Jaden does fall. There's a chance Drake May falls. There's also a chance that all three get picked in the first top three, right? Like, you never, ever know. So we'll get in now to some of the latest here around the NFL draft, some of the trade rumors that have been kind of flowing in here a little bit. Also, Scott Eckert, you, sir, are in. 25 people in. Winner gets $125 at the end of the show. Chip, are you ready to get this thing going? Also, what can you ask? What's the update on the highlight cut? Because I'd rather push that out and then go to the next segment before we do anything else. So if you want to just go out there and just, yeah, real quick. Because I don't see anything yet. Just want to make sure. All right, y'all. So hashtag Raiders or Super Chat to get those questions, comments here on the show. We are about to get into a report around the Raiders and some of the things that they could potentially do to get up into the draft. Where are we at? Okay, perfect. So, Chip, how about this? I'm going to switch my jersey. I want y'all to interact with Chip here for a second. I'm also going to push out a video on YouTube, so that way I'll be back. Give me like 5 minutes or so. You can hang out here with Chip. If you want to get a question up on screen, it can be quarterback related, can be Jacobs related, anything in that regard. You guys can hear maybe a little bit of a different opinion from somebody that's not me, because I do think that's important. Like, you should listen to guys like Graf. You should listen to guys like Wasted. You should listen to a bunch of people and what they also have their thoughts out there. And just because we disagree doesn't mean that he's wrong, I'm wrong. It just means that we have a different opinion. We'll find out who's right or wrong sooner rather than later. But we good? All right, Chip's going to take it over here. We're going to talk a little bit about Josh Jacobs. I'll be back in 2 to 3 minutes. I just got to push out a video here at the Raiders Report.
So we talked about Jacobs earlier on in the show. I'm curious what the temperature is right now. And for people who weren't there with us earlier, a lot of people just joined us recently afterwards. We finished the segment, so curious if you all think the Raiders are going to be the team that brings in Josh Jacobs. Is he going to be a Raider, yes or no? And, we could chop it up about Russell Wilson, too, because I'm curious. I know a lot of y'all don't like Russell Wilson, but say the Raiders do sign Russell Wilson. Minimum deal, whatever. Does that change your draft strategy in terms of possibly drafting a young quarterback in round 1? I don't know if it would. No, I don't know if you still go try to trade up, but maybe you do take a guy like JJ. Maybe you take a chance on someone like Rattler, maybe a more developmental type guy that can sit for a year. So I'm curious if you get Russ, if that changes your draft strategy there. No to Russ. He's all right. Yeah, the Broncos cap situation. Woo. No Russ. Richard, can't pay $10 million or more for JJ. So what? I feel like 10's the number. I feel like 10's the number to get Jacobs in the door. I don't know if anyone else is going to offer that much more. Yes to Russ. I see. The thing is, too, I feel like it kind of depends what happens in the draft, but I don't think you have that luxury. I feel like you're going to have to decide on Russ before the draft. Like, if you have a chance to if someone like Jaden Daniels or Drake May falls out of the top 3, I don't need Russ. I'll trade up to 5, go get one of them. I don't need Russ. But if those 3 go, and you can't get one of those 3, I'd rather have Russ than J.J. McCarthy or Michael Penix. I'm definitely not as high on J.J., I'll tell you that. I'd rather have Michael Penix. No, I wouldn't trade up for him. Maybe trading back, though. I love the idea Anthony had of possibly being able to trade back, especially if some of these guys like JJ, like Penix start to fall. I don't hate the idea at all of trading back, but again, then are you going to pass on a potential, top prospect, non-quarterback prospect there at 13 to trade back and get maybe an extra 3rd or so in the draft? You just don't know. Justin Brown, sign Russ and draft Joe Milton. That's interesting. Milton is just so raw, man. He's got that cannon. Some of his throws in the combine were insane. insane. But I mean, that's, you know, Zach Wilson also had a crazy good combine. So.
All right, I am back here on the show. And I know that some people like Joe Milton because I think Milton's one of those quarterbacks like you look at and you're like, hey, he's got the build, he's this, he's that, but he's not a good quarterback. Like, if I'm Joe Milton, I'm trying to take the career path that Taysom Hill did. And, you know, people could say what they want. If there is one thing that I feel like I have been very good with my entire career here, whether it be fantasy football, whether it be the Raiders report, it's been figuring out the quarterback position. Like, I know who's going to do well. I know who's not going to do well. You're going to have your hits. You're going to have your misses. That goes with it. But I feel like my specialty has always been quarterback. And I don't see a world where Joe Milton is a successful NFL QB. If he gets in the right system, he might be able to be a backup. He might be able to be a backup for a few years. Like, it also wouldn't surprise me if 2-3 years from now, he's gone. Like, you put him in the CFL or something like that, then he might be able to have a little bit of success. Let's go to Muerte. What up, Muerte? Sending in the good vibes. I greatly, greatly appreciate it. All right, we got 1,100 people here on the show. If you haven't already, make sure you click that like button. Let's get the 500 likes on this bad boy. Coming up next here on the show, we're going to get into the latest report around the Raiders being interested in exploring trading up to not into the top 3, but picks 5, 6, or 7. And when I heard that, it made me a little bit uneasy. Like, I'm going to be real with y'all. It's a risk. To go up to 5, 6, or 7, it's a risk not knowing if your quarterback is going to be there. To me, the only way that the Raiders could potentially do something like that is if they are confident that either A, somebody's going to fall, or B, they just have that much confidence in multiple quarterbacks in the 2024 NFL draft. I personally don't have that much confidence. But hey, maybe they know something that I don't know. Obviously, they had meetings with these players. There is one player that does stick out to me a little bit more than the rest, but we'll get into all that here. Chip, you ready? Chip's ready. Are you guys ready? Coming up here, let's get into the latest around the Raiders potentially trading up into the picks 5, 6, or 7. Raider Nation, what's going on? It's Mitchell Renz here, host of the Raiders Report, and today's show is sponsored by 8 Sleep. Does anybody out there have a little bit of trouble sleeping? You can be honest, it's all good. I get night sweats. Alex, she likes the room to be as warm as possible. I like it to be cold. Luckily, our sleep is elevated thanks to today's sponsor. And if anybody wants to go get started, it's 8sleep.com/chatsports. That link's going to be available to y'all down in the comments and in the description of today's show. So coming up here on the Raiders Report, the Raiders are looking to trade up into the NFL draft. However, it might not be where you think, because I don't know about y'all. When I hear Raiders are trying to trade up into the NFL draft, I'm sitting there going, all right, pick 1, pick 2, or is it pick 3? I hate to break it to you. According to Sean Reed from The Athletic, it might not be any of those picks. I'll tell you what that report is here in just a second, but if the Raiders do make a trade, we're going to go live here on the show. And there's a part of me that wonders, do the Raiders make a trade on draft night? And if you don't already know, we will be live for the entire 2024 NFL draft. Every single pick, every single round, we will be here, and we will get the picks before you see them on TV. Heck, sometimes we're a few picks ahead of what you see on television. So hit that subscribe button, join us on draft night, and be ready, because if the Raiders trade up, we're balling here. So if you don't know, the report is from The Athletics to Sean Reed, and he says the Raiders have explored trading up from pick number 13, which not really is anything new out there. I reported about 3 weeks ago that the Raiders are doing everything in their power to try to go up and get Jaden Daniels. Ian Rappaport has indicated that the Raiders are interested in trading up. Like, this is just one of those situations where I think every single NFL team has to know the Las Vegas Raiders, Antonio Pierce, Tom Telesco, they want to trade up for a quarterback based off of multiple reports, based off of a lot of smoke. The full report, though, from The Athletic and Deshaun is that the Raiders could move up to picks 5 or 7, which this has not been discussed yet to my knowledge. And the only way that the Raiders end up trading up, which this is the correct answer, the only way you move up in the NFL draft is if you go for a quarterback. The risk, though, is what if you trade up and your guy's not there? So the full report here is this. The Raiders have been exploring trading up, and maybe not as high as you think. According to league and team sources, it may be unrealistic to swing a trade to move into the top 3 picks, considering the Bears, Commanders, and New England Patriots need quarterbacks. To me, if the Raiders trade up to the top 3, it's for Jaden Daniels, and he's the only guy. Like, I do anticipate that there's going to be quarterbacks taken, right, in the top 3 picks. Like, Caleb Williams to me is going to be the number 1 player off the board. Then the question is, who's next? Is it Drake May? Is it Jaden Daniels? Could it be an entirely different quarterback? Maybe like a J.J. McCarthy, who's been getting a lot of hype. Keep rolling here on this report. Telesco has also had conversations centered on potentially trading for picks in the 5 to 7 range, which are owned by the Chargers at 5, the Giants at 6, and the Titans at 7. Tom Telesco was previously the general manager of the Los Angeles Chargers, which maybe he has that connection, maybe he has that relationship, because to me, the Titans, they got their quarterback. The Chargers, they have their quarterback. The Giants, though, based on reports, they are looking for a QB. So I don't know if those teams would be willing to trade back. Out of those scenarios, I actually think that Tennessee is probably the most likely at pick number 7. Coming up here, which quarterback was linked to the Raiders in picks 5 to 7? If you see a few gray hairs, it's probably because of the quarterback that was linked here for Las Vegas. Before I get into that, though, shout out to today's sponsor, 8 Sleep, and sleep to power a whole new you. Today's episode is brought to you by 8 Sleep, the high-tech solution to your age-old sleeping issues. 8 Sleep's Pod 3 cover slips right over your mattress, bringing heating and cooling tech that keeps you comfortable and sleeping deeper for a better, more restful night. I love 8 Sleep because it has totally stopped my night sweats. I like to snuggle with my dog Chuck, but my man is a warm dude. Thanks to 8 Sleep, I don't wake up sweating and get a better night's sleep. The pod cover will improve your sleep by automatically adjusting your bed's temperature based on your individual needs. The cover can be added to any bed like a fitted sheet and allows you and your partner to cool or warm your side of the bed as low as 55 degrees and up to 110 degrees. In addition to keeping you at the perfect temperature all night, the pod also tracks your sleep and health metrics. On average, pod users see their sleep quality improve by 32% after just a month on the pod. So nation, go to 8sleep.com/chatsports and get $200 off plus free shipping on the pod cover by 8 Sleep. Invest in the rest you deserve with the 8 Sleep pod. I think if anybody watched that or heard anything that I just said, legitimately my favorite thing and my biggest takeaway about it is this. I like to sleep when it's cold. Alex, my fiance, likes it warm. Then we got Chuck, who's a 75-pound dog that just always just finds his way either in between my legs or dude sleeps right here. He's warm. And when I sweat, which I don't want to do in my bed, I don't sleep as well. This legitimately, how cold it is on your back, it's weird at first. That's just being real. But after you just get used to it for one night, you sleep so much better. There's also not that awkward. I got to put my leg out outside of my sheet and wonder if the boogeyman is going to come up and reach and get me. Not going to happen anymore. Shout out to our sponsor, 8 Sleep. Now let's talk about something that is going to keep me up at night, and that's the idea around the Raiders trading up for J.J. McCarthy, because according to The Athletic, the type of trade that could be made to put the Raiders in range for another trade up later or a player at another premium position. But it mostly makes sense if it's a move up for a quarterback like Michigan's J.J. McCarthy. So essentially what The Athletic is saying here is that if the Raiders do move up to picks 5 or 7, it would be with the understanding that they're not going to be able to get one of their top quarterbacks in the top 3. However, since they do still need a QB, they could still land another potential quarterback, and maybe that's J.J. McCarthy. My question of the nation, and I believe it's the first of this show, scale from 1 to 10. I'm talking confidence level. Confidence of 1, you're not confident at all. Like 1 would be me giving you brain surgery. Like, you don't want that, right? 10 would be Chug's doing a boot type level of confidence. So how confident are you in J.J. McCarthy scale from 1 to 10? Let me know down below. My confidence level in J.J. McCarthy is a 3. Like, I think J.J. has an opportunity to be an okay quarterback in the NFL. He's not a QB that I would take in round 1. And trading up for McCarthy would be an organizational failure. Like, not only do I not want the Raiders to draft McCarthy at 13, the idea of you giving up multiple first-round picks to go up and get a kid who has not really shown you enough tape at the NFL level of making NFL caliber throws to do it. I get it. He's 27-1 all-time career at Michigan. But he won because of his defense and the team he was on, not really because of him. Did he shine? Yes. Was he a good leader? Absolutely. Is his toughness there? There is no doubt about all of those things, which are important to the Raiders. But based on my conversations from the NFL Combine, I mean, I talked to 3 different scouts, okay? One NFL scout told me he looked like a quarterback you shouldn't draft in round 1. Another scout told me that he's going to be a top 10 pick overall. Another scout told me that he's the biggest wild card of the draft. And when you think about the biggest wild card of the draft to me, that means like there are some people that think McCarthy is the second, third best quarterback in this year's Classic. There are people that think he legitimately can go top 3. Based off what I saw at the Combine, I was not impressed at all. Like, the throws that he was making, he overthrew 3 out of the 4 in just the Combine. Like, I know JJ is a good athlete. His 3-cone drill, if you like that, dude can run. Dude's going to be a good athlete. What I'm worried about McCarthy and the way that I kind of see him and his career going is, imagine, like, I had very high hopes for Trevor Lawrence. Trevor Lawrence, I don't think has lived up to quite what people expected him in from Clemson to where he is now at Jacksonville. To me, Trevor Lawrence is like here. J.J. McCarthy is like your Dollar General version of Trevor Lawrence, where Trevor can use his legs, but you're not drafting a quarterback that high just to be a runner. You want him to be able to throw the football. That's the type of quarterback that I see Lawrence or J.J. McCarthy being, a Dollar General version of Trevor Lawrence. J.J.'s going to be good. He's probably going to have a chance to be a top 20, but I don't think he's ever going to be a top 10 QB, and that's just not somebody that you trade up for, in my personal opinion. So here's the other thing about my whole take on the Raiders trading up to 5 and 7. If the Raiders trade up to picks 5 and 7, I'm still hoping, and I hope that it's still for the opportunity to get Jaden Daniels. Because like when I originally saw this report, I was like, what if the Raiders traded up to 5, 6, or 7? That way they could just figure out a plan, a strategy, which is one thing that I do want this team to do. You figure out a plan, you figure out a strategy, and you're like, all right, we're at 5 and 6. We've already had to move on from a few other draft picks. We had to, plan ahead. We're doing all that kind of stuff. But what if the hope was that for you to still be able to trade up on draft night? And according to Deshaun Reed, that is a possibility. It's worth noting that the Raiders could also trade up twice. Just an example, they could trade up to 5 and then attempt to use that to move up again to number 3. Like, if I'm the Raiders, here in this type of strategy, it's not a bad idea at all. Like, what you can't have happen, they're like, this is the biggest risk that you could possibly take. Like, I'm telling you right now, this is a big risk. And based off people who I talked to, Antonio Pierce does not have a long leash. Like, he's got to be able to go out there and he's got to be able to prove it. I'm saying Antonio Pierce has got 2 years to be able to prove it. If he doesn't prove it in 2 years, hasta la vista, baby. He's going to go somewhere else, and it's probably not going to be here with Las Vegas. So if you have an opportunity to trade up to pick 5, 6, or 7, figure out, all right, these are going to be the remainder of our draft picks for this year, next year, so on and so forth. That also then helps you plan in free agency because, like, let's face it, I want the Raiders to be able to plan in free agency, and what you can't do is plan on getting a quarterback. You trade up for a quarterback at picks 5 and 7, then none of your QBs are there in the draft, and then you missed out on everybody in free agency. That's a risk. We'll see what the Raiders decide to do. So coming up next here is going to be some NFL Combine quarterback rumors. We're going to be talking about free agency. We're going to be talking about the draft a little bit more. And the reason why I want to add this in is because to me, it does paint a little bit more of a clearer picture of what the Raiders could potentially do this offseason. So let's roll through some of these real quick. Right now, based on what we are told here, the Falcons are very interested in Kirk Cousins. I know last week I said that Justin Fields, I think he ends up going to Atlanta. I'm telling y'all right now, and I was also on this show before saying that Kirk Cousins was the number 1 most likely quarterback to play with the Raiders. That ain't happening anymore. Like, Kirk Cousins now, I don't even think I'd put him in my top 5 based off the information that we have been given. To me, Kirk's going to be an Atlanta Falcon. Like, it sounds like that one is getting closer and closer to being a done deal. If Kirk doesn't go back to Minnesota, he's going to be in Atlanta. Justin Fields could be traded for a 3rd-round pick, and I know I've said before that I don't really think it makes a lot of sense to put Fields and Luke Getsy together. I don't think it makes any sense. But if you're the Raiders or if you're an NFL team, what if you traded a 3rd-round pick for Justin Fields, and then you could do everything else that you wanted to do in free agency, or if you wanted to go out and do it even in during the draft as well. Baker Mayfield isn't a lock to return to Tampa Bay, though, based on recent reports from the NFL, he could be getting $30 to $35 million per year. Another name, as I'm recording this live, Russell Wilson. He's just been released by the Denver Broncos, and I'm going to say that I was the first person here amongst Raider Nation to explain the idea around the Raiders signing Wilson at a vet minimum contract at $1.21 million. If you want to check out that video, go on YouTube, type in Raiders Report, Russell Wilson, and you'll see the video that I made 2 months, almost 3 months ago at this point. More quarterback rumors that we've heard. The Raiders want Jaden Daniels at quarterback. Like, it's not even a secret anymore. It's not. Like, if you think that this is a secret, and if you get upset about me saying that the Raiders want Jaden Daniels, that's on you, because it's been reported by every single person out there, and if you don't know it at this point, you're just not paying attention. The Raiders, if they sign a QB this offseason, it's going to be for cheap. Originally, I thought that they could potentially sign a QB like a Kirk Cousins and then draft a Bo Nix. Based on what I'm being told right now, that's not going to happen. If they sign a quarterback in free agency, it is merely, and I mean merely, for a cheap deal to put with like a veteran with Aiden, and then you're going to go out and draft a quarterback, because this is a team, this is an organization that wants to build their offensive line. They want to be able to build pieces and use free agency more than what they originally expected. If you remember, Tom Telesco at the Combine said, we're going to have to use free agency more than I have in years past. So to me, the Raiders 100% will draft a quarterback in the 2024 NFL Draft. The question is, where is it going to be? I also know that the Raiders are very split on JJ. I have heard from certain people from the Raiders that they love JJ, and then there are other people that aren't as high on McCarthy, and I think it's because they're high on a few other prospects. Like Telesco, from what I'm being told, still loves Bo Nix. However, Bo Nix was not good at the Senior Bowl, and he was not good at the Combine, and that is from multiple people who were at both saying, like, you don't draft Bo Nix in round one. I've been trying to say it for months. I know some people are going to have their opinion no matter what, but I would be very nervous about taking Bo Nix in round one, and I'd even be a little bit nervous about taking him at pick 44. And then the next one is this. Michael Penix Jr. injury history. It's not a worry. It's not a worry for NFL teams. It's not a worry for Telesco. And when Telesco spoke to the media at the Combine, the biggest thing that he was concerned, and he literally said his biggest concern was medical. Now that the medical ended up checking out and Penix went out there and did his thing, like, I think Penix was the best quarterback at the Combine from top to bottom, being just a thrower of the football, considering Drake May, Caleb Williams, and Jaden Daniels did not throw. To me, Michael Penix Jr., he's now put himself in the conversation to be, in my opinion, that number 4 quarterback behind the top 3. So in conclusion, the Raiders are going to try to get a QB. Not a shocking news source at all. They are going to draft one this year. Book it. Put it in your notes right now. The Raiders will draft a quarterback this year. It's just a matter of, are they going to try to trade up for Jaden? That's plan A. If they're unable to get Jaden, do they still try to take a quarterback at 13? Do they try to trade up to those picks 5 or 7? Or do they try to trade up into the back half of the first round, which is kind of where I think this team does end up going, because every single year something happens. There's going to be a quarterback that slides, whether that's Bo Nix, Michael Penix Jr., or somebody like J.J. McCarthy. Our most recent report was that 6 QBs could go in round 1. If that is the truth, it's going to be very interesting to see what the Silver and Black do this offseason at QB. Should the Raiders trade up to picks 5, 7? Give me a yes. Give me a no.
This is a hot one. This is a controversial one.
Ooh. Yeah, it is going to be spicy. I don't know what's going to happen. This would scare the hell out of me. It really would. Like, I would be genuinely concerned if the Raiders traded up to picks 5 or 7. Because, again, I'm somebody that doesn't want J.J. McCarthy. I don't want Bo Nix. I don't want Michael Penix Jr. Not here at these picks, that's for sure. If it works out and they can get Jaden or they get one of their top guys, I'm on board for it.
Dream scenario, though. Dream scenario.
Like, dream scenario. I think the other thing that would be interesting about this is if you trade up to pick 5 or 7, if the Raiders were like, if Jaden's not there, we're not going to take him. Then what? You trade it up and...
trade back down?
Like you get Marvin Harrison Jr. or something like that. Like, I love Marvin Harrison Jr. I ain't trading up for him.
Oh, man, if he's there at 5, woo!
I mean, if you're the Raiders and he's there at 5, I think it'd be really tough to pass up. Though, that wouldn't be the player that I think the Raiders would draft. If the Raiders traded up to 5, 6, or 7, and all their quarterbacks are gone, the person that I would put money on that the Raiders draft is Joe Alt, offensive tackle from Notre Dame. Telesco loves offensive linemen. He loves players from Notre Dame, and I would say regarded as the number one offensive tackle in this year's draft.
Yeah, it's him and then it's Olu. Olu's great, but Joe Olt's just like
I think Joe Olt's, he's the safer one. I mean, Joe Olt is the last time I had a prospect ranked as high as Joe Olt was actually Rashawn Slater. And
beast.
Look who drafted him, right? And then I had Penei Sewell ranked even higher, though. So, is what it is. All right, Chip, I got to change my jersey here real quick. When we get back, we're going to do a little mock draft action, which I'm excited to see what you guys have to say about my mock. We're going to rock out with our mocks out here in just a minute.
It's a nice mock. I'll tell you that. It's a real nice mock. It's a good-looking mock. It's actually a lot of no's here for should the Raiders trade up. People saying yes. I think I just saw if Jaden is there, then yeah. But man, Jaden being there, the amount of teams that would be desperate to trade up to that pick 5 if Jaden Daniels falls. That's driving it up even more.
I think what's important of this question in terms of context, it's you're trading up to picks 5 or 7 before the draft starts. Like the context there, which maybe I didn't do a good enough job, and I'll go back and I'll watch the video to clarify on it, but trading up to picks 5 or 7 is in context of before the NFL draft. Like this isn't like if Jaden falls. It is we're sitting here randomly today, the Raiders, they trade up to picks 5, 6, or 7. Let's just say, again, I think the most likely option is number 7 just because I don't know if the Chargers trade with the Raiders. Like, maybe that's the thing. Like, I don't see why they would. The Giants are a team that I think they're apparently interested in going out and getting a quarterback. And then there's the Titans. Like, the Titans are, to me, the team that probably would be open to trading with the Raiders. So let's say you're at pick 7. You do that now. That way it helps you plan for free agency, and then it helps you plan what you're going to do in the NFL draft. Because if you're doing 2 months of draft prepping and you're getting ready and you're like, all right, we got all these picks, but you still are hoping that you could potentially trade up and go get Jaden, like that means then you're kind of freeballing it on draft night if you move all these picks around, and now you're just stuck with XYZ picks. Like, I'd rather you do it now, figure out what your plan is, and then that way you had 2 months to be able to execute your plan in the draft.
Right.
Like, it's not always like that, but we'll see what ends up going down here for Las Vegas. So I am seeing a lot of yeses, seeing a lot of no's here from Dan. I appreciate each and every one of y'all for tuning in. We are 16 likes away from 500, so if you haven't yet, please make sure you guys click that like button.
Come on, man. We got to get there.
We got to get there.
We got to get there.
We gotta get there, man. I'm also seeing a lot of people are intrigued by the Josh Jacobs video, which doesn't surprise me at all. There's a lot of good information there. I was very, very appreciative. And again, shout out to Jacobs' team today for taking 20-ish minutes out of their day to sit down and talk to me. Maybe they were standing. I don't know. But a lot of interesting stuff. Like last year we were talking about Jacobs, and one of the things that I thought was crazy was somebody from Jacobs' team said that this show, my name was brought up during the contract negotiations because Ziegler was very, very upset that the information that got put out there on this show got put out there, which I can understand it from multiple Raiders standpoints. Like, there's some people that probably watch this like, well, yeah, I bet you shouldn't put that kind of information out. My job, though, is to be able to paint the full picture here. But they were talking about us in the show because we had the information right. Like, if you guys don't remember what the Jacobs news was, last year I was sitting here reporting that the Raiders had conversations with Jacobs, and everyone's like, oh, no, it never happened. I'm telling you right now, it happened. And it was pretty crazy scenario was they were talking about the conversations that we had on this show while they were sitting down having their contract negotiation talks back in July, which is a pretty mind-blowing thing to hear. I'm not going to lie to y'all. It was pretty surreal. So before we get into our final segment, before we get into our mock draft here on today's show, we are going to do a 50-50 raffle call here. I am going to see some updated names if we got any more people that are entered. The last name that I saw was Scott Eckert, and now I see that Ed Nave, hopefully I pronounced that right, you in, which means we right now, as it stands, winner would get $10 Venmo for a chance to win $130. We're going to do that at the very, very end of today's show. All right, we got over 1,000 people here. Who's ready to rock out with their mocks out? If you are, spam mock down below. Can I get some mocks in the chat?
Let us see your mocks, baby.
Rock out with your mock out. How many mocks can I get? How big do you guys think this mock is?
It's a big mock.
It's a girthy mock. Some would say 9. That's all I'm going to say is 9. 9.
Just 9.
Brian is ready to mock. We got Joe, Ron, Mike, Queen Serrato rocking out with her mock out. What up, Agent? What up, Raphael? Mr. Sancho, Roll, Johnny Cat, Eric F. Hey, sometimes the thing with this show is, man, I want this show to be like the way that you talk to your friends, the way that you talk to the people that are close to you. Sometimes you just say off the wall shit. I'm going to say it, and I want it back from you guys as well. Like, it's the only way that this show is going to grow because I want y'all to get to know me better. I want to get to know you better. And believe it or not, it helps me remember people. Like, you know, like I don't know what Thomas Herrera looks like. I don't know what Pepsi Red 465 looks like. I don't know what Cisco Enrique looks like. You guys see what I look like. However, sometimes when people use their sense of humor, I get used to it, right? Like I get used to the type of jokes that you make. Like that way, like when Buddy Bear pulls up, when Rebel pulls up, when Zahn pulls up, like I get that sense of humor, and that's the type of stuff that I want. So if you ever watch this show, you're like, what the hell am I listening to? It's going to happen, man. It's going to happen. Caleb says, I have my pick on my profile. There you go. But see, Caleb, what I really want to have the opportunity to is like, I want to shake hands with people. You know what I mean? Like Nico, a lot of haters out there, but Mitch, this show, number one of a kind. I got to meet up with Nico in Las Vegas a few months ago. Really cool dude. Bought some Fireball for everybody. Playing a little bit of basketball beer pong, which was fun. See, it's cool to actually meet some people from this show.
Basketball beer pong?
Yeah, there's a spot in Vegas. It's called Red Tail. And they have, like, their beer cups are about this tall, this wide, and you shoot with a basketball.
Wow.
A lot of fun.
That's a lot of fun.
I was, as some would say, wet that night. I couldn't miss. I'm not going to lie. I was feeling it. We ran the table. I think we lost like one time out of 10 games. Yeah, we were scorching.
You're the Steph Curry of
whatever that game was, I was feeling it. I couldn't miss. I'm going to say, imagine playing beer pong with somebody and their shot percentage, I'm going to say was 75%. I mean, I'm
not playing.
I was with Raider Cody, so you don't know who Raider Cody is, but it was Raider Cody and I, and we were running the table, and where Red Tail is, there's like a long line that leads to Zook, which is like a big nightclub in Vegas. There were people that were just watching us run the table, and then people would start coming out of the line to play us and just like making these outlandish bets with us and mopping the floor.
Get him out of here.
Yeah, Nico said 80%. I was feeling it, Nico. I was feeling pretty good that night, and I was a little intoxicated, which some of you probably like, there's no way, man. I don't believe that. All right, I'm going to refresh my phone here. I see that I got a few more people that are in for this duck race here. Oh, man, we got a bunch. Luis Rod, my man, is in. Mo Shav, who I believe won the last one, right, Mo? And we got Willie Pfister. Just so you guys know, it's not his real first and last name, but I know Willie now. Raider Sancho, you in. So that means $10 Venmo. As it stands right now, you have a chance to win $150. Randall Carter is in. And then I think I just got one more. I did. And it is from Carl Sinez in. So as it stands right now, $10 Venmo for a chance to win 160 doll hairs. It's a lot of doll hairs. All right, Ron Raspberry says, mock it hard, Mitch. I don't think I've ever not mocked it hard. I'm a hard mocker. My mock, rock hard.
Yeah, this mock, I was getting excited
looking
at this mock earlier.
Yeah, I'll tell you what. If this mock happens, we're going to have a lot of fun. That's all I know. We're going to have a lot of fun. So, Phil, yes, I did see Dolphins are not franchise tagging Christian Wilkins. I mean, to me, that's if I'm going to spend over $20 million on any player realistically in free agency, it's Christian Wilkins to me, and that's just because of his relationship with Rob Leonard and what that would do for our defensive line. Like, if Wilkins is taking double teams, that means Tyree Wilson gets one-on-one opportunity, Crosby gets one-on-one opportunity, Malcolm Kuntz gets one-on-one opportunity. I like that a lot, if I'm being real with y'all. I think Matabuke ends up getting tagged or just returns to the Ravens, and then I think Chris Jones. I'll be curious to see what they do with Chris Jones, but to me, Jones is going to be in the $30 million per year range, where Wilkins, you could probably get him at 20, 21 mil, put him with Crosby for the next 3 years, and let's freaking run it. Let's freaking run it. All right, coming up right now, I got a Raiders mock draft, a brand new one after the NFL Combine. You ready? You guys ready? All right, let's get into it right now here on the Raiders Report. Raider Nation, what's going on? It's Mitchell Renz here, host of the Raiders Report, and here's my first edition of a Raiders mock draft following the 2024 NFL Combine. At this point this offseason, I have put out multiple, and I mean multiple mock drafts. However, every single day, every single week, new and more information continues to just shuffle out. We had the Chat Sports team go out to the Combine, and we were able to sit down, interview a bunch of different potential prospects, but we also knew that the Raiders met with certain people. So what I'm taking is some of the information that I was provided, some of the information that we shared with you guys on some YouTube shorts and whatnot, and put together all of this info for a brand new Raiders mock draft. If you do not know the Las Vegas Raiders 2024 NFL draft picks, here they are. They have a pick in every single round, 1 through 6, and then 3 picks in round 7 for a total of 9 picks in the 2024 NFL Draft. To paint a clear picture of how this mock ended up going down, here's how the draft results went. Caleb Williams, Drake May, Jaden Daniels, top 3 picks off the board. Marvin Harrison Jr., Olu Fashanu, Joe Alt were the next 3 picks. Then from 7 to 12 is where this gets kind of interesting to me. You got Malik Neighbors off the board. J.J. McCarthy goes number 8, so already 4 quarterbacks are off the board. And I went into this mock thinking, like, all right, if I have the opportunity to trade up, I'm going to do it. Unfortunately, I didn't have that opportunity because all 3 QBs went into the top 3. Terrion Arnold goes, Brock Bowers, Dallas Turner, and then Latu edge from UCLA. Before I tell you who the Raiders ended up taking at number 13, if you like mock drafts, if you're somebody that's like, you know what, Mitch, I like to rock out with my mock out with you. I appreciate that, man. Hit that subscribe button, turn on those notifications, join the family, and if you've never seen another man's mock, do you actually know him? I don't really know. Let's go to pick number 13 off the board. I'm going to go Talisi Fuaga, the right tackle at Oregon State. My biggest concern right now with Fuaga is his short arms, and he actually checked in with some of the shortest arms at the offensive tackle position in NFL Combine history. But at 6'6", 334 pounds, this guy is a hell of a run blocker, very good pass blocker, and he can be your starting right tackle. And call me a sucker. If there's somebody that's got some Raiders in their blood, I'm all about it. We had the opportunity to talk to Fuaga at the NFL Combine, and this is what he said.
I mean, it'd be a blessing. I'm ready for any team to really pick me up, but Raiders, I got a lot of family members that are Raiders fans too, so it'd be nothing but a blessing to play for them. Yeah, I met with them. Yes, sir. It was a good meeting. Just like any other meeting, it was a great meeting to meet those guys, and it was always like, it's just like another one you got to get through, so yeah.
Man, I don't know about you. I'm a sucker. As soon as I hear Raiders in my blood, I love that kind of stuff. Fuaga was a very nice, I'll call him a man. I almost called him a boy, but at that big, he probably looks at me. He calls me a boy. But I know the Raiders need to be able to find that right tackle, with Jermaine Illuminor being a little bit of a question mark right now, not knowing if he's going to be able to come back. I think being able to get somebody that's really reliable and solid was right there. I did also think about taking J.C. Latham, though, from Alabama. Let's go to round 2, pick number 44, and I'll be real with you. I am not the biggest Michael Penix Jr. fan. I think he's a good quarterback. He is number 4 on my rankings. But, let's be real here. If I'm able to get Michael Penix Jr. at 44, I'm taking it every single day of the week based off the information that I know right now here for the Silver and Black. I'll be real with you. I almost didn't take him at 44 because I actually thought that I don't even think it's all that realistic. I do not see Michael Penix Jr. based off of the information, based off of what he did at the Combine, falls outside of round 1. But sometimes crazy shit happens. And because he fell, I ended up taking him here. But my question to you is this. Like, if you're going to take a quarterback in round 1, round 2, if you're the silver and black, you're kind of hoping that that guy can be your franchise QB. And the last quarterback that many of you considered to be the franchise QB was Derek Carr, who was also taken in round 2. So I'm going to look at all of you right now and say, if the Raiders are able to get Michael Penix Jr., can he be the Raiders franchise quarterback? Give me a yes, give me a no. My answer after this YouTube ad break. I do believe that Michael Penix Jr. can be a franchise quarterback on a bunch of NFL teams. You need to have a good offensive line, and you need to have some solid pieces around them. The Raiders have the talent at wide receiver. The Raiders have talent at tight end. Yeah, the defense still, you can improve it, but they've got Antonio Pierce and doing a lot of the right things. With 3 open offensive line spots, if the Raiders go with Fuaga, cool, you got your right tackle spot. That means you better have gone out and you better have gotten some 2 other starting caliber offensive linemen to put at either center or at offensive guard, whether it be right guard or left guard, because if Michael Penix Jr. is back there and he doesn't have a solid offensive line, it is going to make me very, very nervous. Other good thing, though, Telesco, not worried about the injury history anymore with Penix. Coming up, who I drafted at pick number 77, because right now I got a starting right tackle, I got a starting quarterback, and I was feeling pretty good about this mock draft. I'm not going to lie to y'all. And when I do the NFL draft, when I go live, I get a little bit worried. And when I do mock drafts, I get kind of worried as well. And sometimes you get worried, you sweat a little bit. So shout out to today's sponsor, Mando. And I want you to get $5 off Mando starter pack. Just use code CHAT. If you don't know what I'm talking about, listen to this. Raider Nation, control body odor anywhere with Mando and get $5 off your starter pack. That's over 40% off with promo code CHAT at shopmando.com. I love Mando because it's a whole body deodorant. Mando is seriously safe to use anywhere on your body. I'm not proud to tell you how I know that. But pits, your package. I'm talking grundle, your balls, belly button, butt crack, stinky crevices, stomach folds, and your feet. Like, keeping it a buck with y'all, I've always had smelly feet, and anybody that has ever played baseball with me, I'm sure if Chuck could talk, he would tell you, my fiance would love to tell you, I got smelly feet. I use Mando on my feet every single day. It's the only way that I can try to keep my feet from not stinking. I do walk to work, and it's always been a problem, and I'm not afraid to tell you all that, but Mando to me is a great foot deodorant. You can use it, though, basically anywhere. Mando starter pack is perfect for new customers. It comes with a solid stick deodorant, cream tube deodorant, 2 free products of your choice like mini body wash and deodorant wipes, and free shipping. Luckily, I got a discount code to help you get hooked on my favorite smelling whole body deodorant on the market. New customers get $5 off a starter pack with our exclusive code. That equates to over 40% off your starter pack. Use code CHAT at shopmando.com. That's shopmando.com. It's time to smell better naked. Your partner will thank you. And my partner does thank me. Like, there's always one thing I know. Like, I'll be sitting on the couch, and I got my feet up or whatever, and she'll walk by me, and Alex will just, like, give me this look, and I'm like, my feet stink, don't they? She's like, yeah, they do. And what do I got to do? Now I just get some deodorant. I put them on my feet. It's good to go. I used to, like, literally get, like, the salt. You put it in a tub. You put it in a bath. That takes, like, 15, 20, 30 minutes. I don't got time for that. Put a little Mando on my feet, and I don't know about you, I'm smelling pretty good. Alex seems to like it too. For any guys out there, if any women come across it, you're like, yeah, my man could use this. The link's going to be available to y'all down in the comments, down in the description. Shout out to Mando for sponsoring the Raiders Report. Let's go to round 3, pick number 77, and this might be my favorite pick in the entire draft. Braden Fisk, defensive tackle from Florida State. And this is going to be a dude that, I'll be real with you, I don't know if he falls to the 3rd round. Like, I think based off the combine that he had, I mean, he was phenomenal. Top 40 time. He showed his athletic ability. For somebody at his size to be able to run a 4.78 40-yard dash is awesome. But the other reason why I love this fit here is, yes, defensive tackle is a big-time need. It's also the mindset. Like, here is a hard-working individual that I'm telling you right now is going to fit great with Max Crosby, going to fit great with Antonio Pierce. And if you're able to put him on your interior, he might never be like a top 10 defensive tackle, but to me, he's going to be a really good pro for a very long time in the NFL. Let's go to round 4 here at pick 113. I was able to get Trevin Wallace, linebacker out of Kentucky, and Wallace is definitely a player to keep in mind. Again, another dude that I think PFN needs to update their rankings here a little bit because I don't know if he falls to round 4. He's an athletic specimen at 6'2", 240 pound, and he's a hard hitter. He can go sideline to sideline. But what's really important here, and it's a guy that I know the Raiders are looking at, the Raiders did meet with Wallace at the Combine. On top of that, Wallace had a good Combine, was one of our winners. He also was working with Rob Leonard at the Senior Bowl. So Wallace played linebacker, even though Rob Leonard, who's our defensive line coach, he was coaching the linebackers on the American team where he was working with Trevin Wallace. So just one of the reasons why I ended up taking Wallace here in this mock, though again, I almost actually took him at pick 77, rolled the dice, got a little ballsy. Luckily, they smell good. Shout out to Mando, and I was able to get him here at pick 113. If you're looking for your top needs, some of y'all are like, you know what, Mitch, I actually need that deodorant. You could probably put that at number 1. For the Raiders' needs, though, I look at it as quarterback, defensive tackle, offensive tackle, corner, and offensive guard. I am still going to put center on here, despite the news, rumors of Dylan Parham shifting into center. At number 7 is running back, tight end, linebacker, safety, and then I'd probably put at number 11, wide receiver. So how about this? What's one player? Like, I think everybody has a my guy. Like, there's some people out there, like, if the Raiders can name one dude, you know, name a player you're hoping the Raiders draft after seeing the NFL Combine. I don't want you to say Jaden Daniels, because I know basically everyone that watches this show is like, I would like Jaden Daniels, and I can kind of wrap my mind around that idea because Jaden, to me, is a very, very good quarterback, but give me somebody that's a little bit more unknown. Like, maybe it is somebody like a Trevin Wallace. Maybe it is somebody like a Brandon Fisk. There's a running back that I like, Marshawn Lloyd. You know, there's a tight end from Penn State that I like a lot, Theo Johnson. There's even, you know, other prospects out there that you could potentially consider and going out and getting. So what I want to know from everybody out there, you can do player bio first. Name a player you're hoping that the Raiders can go out and try to draft. Let's go to the next pick here in our mock draft, and I am going to be selecting tight end Theo Johnson out of Penn State. Now, Johnson was a player that did meet with Antonio Pierce, and he met with the Raiders at the NFL Combine. I also decided to take Johnson here, and when I was looking at the board, I'll be real, I didn't love a lot of the picks that I saw. I was kind of hoping that Ray Davis was going to be able to fall to me in round 5. That did not happen. I was kind of hoping like maybe one of these other running backs would be able to fall to me. That did not happen. But Johnson is a good athlete, good receiving tight end. Getsy's going to want to try to use 2 tight end sets. He likes to incorporate the tight end position. And right now it's Michael Mayer, and that's basically it for the silver and black. So considering the fact that you got the tight end, who you met with at the Combine, is why I ended up taking him here in round 5, pick 147. Let's go to round 6 now, pick 210, and I took this guy in my last mock, and I'm going to double up here. It's Nehemiah Pritchett, cornerback from Auburn, who I actually think did a pretty damn good job at the Combine. Like, he's 6'1", he's 185 pounds, he's a pretty versatile player. Like, he can play in man, he can play in zone, physical, but like, he's got that mental toughness. And when you start to get at this point in the draft, like, I'm looking for guys that are mentally tough. Like, he might not be the greatest athlete out there, but he's going to be able to fit in multiple different schemes, and I think he'd fit pretty damn well in a Patrick Graham scheme. On top of that, we do need a corner. I don't love the fact that I got my first corner here in round 6, but then again, I do love this draft so far. Let's go to round 7 at pick 221. I'm going to go with Kamani Vidal, running back from Troy, and probably one of my favorite players coming out of the Combine based off of conversations that I had are Kamani Vidal. He's 5'8", 215 pounds. And I actually had an NFL scout tell me if the Raiders move on from Josh Jacobs, this is the guy that could be a Josh Jacobs light. So he was very impressive at Troy. 297 carries, 1,661 yards. Ran a 40 time of like 4.48, which is kind of the area that you like to see. 14 touchdowns. But the other thing that a scout told me was Josh Jacobs' stiff arm might be the best stiff arm in the NFL. Somebody told me that Vidal here has got the best stiff arm in this class. So for somebody who's not very big, doesn't have a lot of spots, I guess, that you can get your hands on him, very intriguing running back, and I want the nation, after watching this video, to go turn on his tape because it's somebody that, quite frankly, I don't think should have been playing at Troy. Let's go to round 7 now, 225. I'm going to go with Garrett Greenfield, Offensive tackle. Now, I don't know if he ends up playing offensive tackle. Like, he might end up playing guard on top of that. And the reason why that I took Greenfield is because he could probably do both, just like Talisi Fuaga. If there's an NFL team out there, it's like, I don't know if we want to put him at tackle because of his short arms. The reason why I'm going to go with Greenfield here is because if you look at this far in the draft, round 7, can I go with a good athlete? And can I go with somebody that's got some explosion in his legs to be able to get downfield? Like, that's a part of the game that is continuing to develop here in the NFL. Greenfield set the NFL Combine record for vertical jump. So he's got to have some spring in his step. Maybe that's just because he's a jackrabbit. Let's go to round 7. We're going to round it out. I started with somebody from Oregon State, and I'm going to finish with somebody from Oregon State. I'm going to go with Anthony Gold at receiver. I've talked about on this show that the Silver and Black are looking to add more speed to their wide receiver group, and Anthony Gold, out of the receivers that's probably going to go round 6 and beyond, more than likely going to be the fastest one. Gold ran a 4.39 40-yard dash. I get it. He's a small receiver. The Raiders already have Trey Tucker. But what if you were able to incorporate Tucker in more of a actual receiver role, and then you let Anthony Gold just be that gadget deep threat type of guy? Like last year, the way that I wish the Raiders would have incorporated their offense was with Trey Tucker and DeAndre Carter, like where Trey Tucker's the actual receiving option, DeAndre Carter's more of that gadget and just doing more like the sprints back and forth, pre-snap reads. I want to see more pre-snap reads. That's one thing Antonio Pierce promised us. Anthony Gold will be a good player to bring in 10, 15 times a game, and even if he never runs a route, his speed, you got to be able to respect it. And for me able to get him here in round 7, 227, I thought it was a good pick. So here we go. Here was my Raiders mock draft after the Combine. Talisi Fuaga at offensive tackle in round 1. Michael Penix Jr. at quarterback in round 2. Braden Fisk at DT in round 3. Trevin Wallace, round 4. Theo Johnson, tight end from Penn State in round 5. Nehemiah Pritchett, round 6 from Auburn. Round 7, I went Kamani Vidal, Garrett Greenfield, and Anthony Gold. 9 picks in total. I didn't make any trades, and I did this mock draft on PFN. So if you could, give me a grade. A, you loved it. B, it was good. C, it's average. D, it's terrible. F, well, hopefully none of us have ever gotten an F. My Raiders mock draft after the NFL Combine. Whew, boy. Seeing some Bs, seeing some Cs, which I can kind of get on board. Like, the grade that I gave myself for that mock was a B. To me,
some A's.
To me, the only way I'm getting an A, or the only way I'd give myself an A, is if I got Jaden Daniels, or Caleb Williams, or Drake May. Like, to me, that's the only way that I'm going to give an A grade out.
Yeah. They were all gone, though. They were all gone.
They went
top 3.
I mean,
not much you can do.
I was sitting there, and I thought about trading up for Michael Penix Jr., and to be honest with you, if this was the actual NFL draft, I probably would have had to do it just because I would have been too nervous, because in that mock, Bo Nix ended up going off the board, I want to say at like 35 or 36, and the Raiders pick at 43, so I was like, man, is somebody going to take him? Yeah. He ended up falling. I got lucky on it, but...
And maybe in real life, that's a situation where a team sees a quarterback gets picked, they're like, we got to go get the next quarterback. In the mock draft, that's really a thing.
That's probably, if you're the Raiders and you want to go up, that's probably you're giving up your 2nd and your 4th to go up then and try to get your guy. But how about this? I saw a few names. Name a player you're hoping that the Raiders draft after seeing the NFL Combine. I had a few people say Quinion Mitchell, which I tried telling y'all about Quinion Mitchell 3 months. First mock draft I ever did, I took Mitchell in round 3. And I was like,
a freak.
He's
not going there.
I was like, he ain't falling here. Like the news will get out. People will realize how good he is. And now, I mean, one scout told me he's going to go. One scout told me he could be the number 1 corner drafted.
Yeah, I mean, man.
I mean, that's crazy.
There's a lot of good corners fighting for that top spot right now.
I mean, I've always had Wiggins as my number 1, and I'm not really going to change it now. Like, Wiggins is going to be my number 1. Terrion Arnold's going to be my number 2. Quinion Mitchell's my number 3. Like, I've made it this far with Wiggins as my number 1. There's no reason why I would drop him. Like, I was really unfortunate to see him hurt his whatever the heck it was.
Yeah, it was like a groin hip type of injury.
Yeah.
I think he's going to be okay, though.
All right, we got Xavier Worthy from Victoria B. I knew somebody would put up Xavier Worthy here. What I'm curious, though, is I knew Xavier Worthy was fast. Like, I actually thought that he was going to run 4.29, 4.3. Like, that's kind of like where like the books had him, which, don't get me wrong, is unbelievably fast.
Yeah.
4.21, though,
stupid.
is It is. It's stupid. It's for you to improve that much. Something is just bananas right there. I see Dylan Laub, the running back from, I want to say New Hampshire. Penix from Giddy. I see Byron Murphy from Mike Nix is a good name. Peyton Wilson from NC State. Fisk from Agent Red. I agree with you there. So here's what we're going to do. I'm going to refresh my phone one more time. If you guys have any more questions for me, use hashtag Raiders or Super Chat. We'll answer those questions, and then after that, I'm going to get on out of here. We got a lot of other things that we got to get done today at Chat Sports. It's been kind of a busy day, but then tomorrow I will be back live at 4 p.m. Eastern Time. Obviously, if any other breaking news happens, we will be here. I say 4 p.m. Eastern Time. We might go live a little bit early just because, like, the franchise tag.
Right, yeah.
So we might go live a little bit early tomorrow, so just be on the lookout for that. You're with me tomorrow, though, too, right?
Yep.
All right, so Chip will be back tomorrow as well. All right, let me see some names that I got in here. I see Kamar Ballantyne, you in. I just got one more as well. Oh, I got a few, actually.
Get them in.
Final call. Holy crap.
Another person saying Joe Milton.
Yeah, I don't understand that. Jason E.B., you in. Jason E.B., you in. And then I see League Villains in. Jonathan Mendo. Oh my God, I thought it said Mendocina. I was like, oh shit, we're going to have to talk. Jonathan in. David Atkerson, you, my friend, are in. Daniel Munoz in. Jamari Murray is in twice. I'm going to put it as J. Murray. Then I see, Anthony Green. People are worried about you. Nathan Wolf. I'm just going to put Wolf with 2 Fs. Got it. See another one in here from Anthony Green. You in. Ray Aguirre in. Holy crap. Oh, Steve, okay. David Anderson. And then I got Matt Faluhi in. All right, we're going to go through all of these. What do we got here? We got winner would get $240.
Woo!
$10 Venmo for a chance to win $240. Final call to get in. Rustin Long in. One away from 50 racers. What up, Jeff? You're up next here on the Raiders Report. Reports Russell Wilson to be cut today. Mitch, would you sign Wilson? I hear he has a bad locker room guy. He is a bad locker room guy, and I don't think anybody would discredit that. However, my conversations that I've had around Wilson before were based on me knowing, and anybody that follows the NFL really close, I think, knew that the Broncos were going to cut Russell Wilson. It is $89 million of dead cap hit. The only way that I would entertain the idea of signing Russell, though, and people might think it's far-fetched, that just means you haven't watched a lot of my Russell Wilson videos, is that Wilson could take a deal at the vet min. And because he could take a deal at the vet min, that's $1.21 million. Like, whatever deal Russell Wilson ends up signing with his new team, the Broncos get a credit for. So if you're Wilson and you want to screw over Denver, you take a deal at $1.21 million, then the Broncos get a credit of $1.21 million. Then if you're on Russell Wilson's new team, like if I'm Wilson and his agent, I tell Russ to take that vet min deal. That means then you take a 1-year prove-it deal, vet minimum type of deal. Then you go out, you prove it because your team has the ability to go out, sign all these other players, build around you, draft around you. You have one really, really good year, and then you hit the open market the next season after having a good year. Like, if Russ hits the market now, he's not going to get a contract. Like, he's not going to get a good contract. He's not. So that's why I think he's going to sign a 1-year prove-it type of deal. So if this is what the Raiders want to do, I wouldn't be mad about it. Like, if you're concerned that you're not going to get Jaden Daniels or a top quarterback, you sign Russell Wilson to a 1-year prove-it deal. You use all your free agency money, you use all your draft picks, you build around him, you build a complete team, and you can still draft a quarterback to learn behind Russell. And that way, then if Russell does a great job and you make the playoffs, you make a deep run, then you consider giving him a brand new deal, or you just hand the keys to the quarterback that you drafted. It's going to be an interesting offseason for Mr. Wilson. Let's go to Knackered Irishman. No rehash QBs. We need the next franchise quarterback. By the way, I'm 54 today. Give me a shout out, nation. Yo, happy birthday to Knackered Irishman. If you don't spam HBD, I'm going to block you right now.
Get him going, baby.
I'm going to block you.
Get him going.
Oh, man. Happy birthday to the Knackered Irishman. That's freaking cool. March 4th. Is that why you're the Knackered Irishman? Because you're born in March? Like, whole St. Patty's Day thing? I will say, based off of what Pierce and Telesco said, like, that they want a franchise quarterback, and to me, franchise quarterback next 10 years, that's not Russell Wilson. However, though, if you are not confident that you're going to be able to get that franchise guy, bringing in Wilson on a 1-year, $1.21 million deal, I don't think is a bad option. Like, Russell Wilson is better than Aiden O'Connell. Whether you like to hear that or not, if you could upgrade at the QB position and still get it for cheaper, that's worth it to me. All right, I see Queen, Anthony Luis, Realist, no, and then my man, Aggressive Master Raider. Let's go to Sancho. Hearing Mitch say Grundle just made my day. I did say Grundle, but here's the thing: we all have a little bit of Grundle once in a while. It's part of what happens, right? If you say you've never had Grundle, well then you probably have never had Famunda cheese either. Let's go to John, Tennessee or USC running backs. Are you saying like either Jalen or Marshawn Lloyd?
Yeah.
I think it depends what type of offense you're going to run. For the Raiders with Getsy and this offense with Antonio Pierce, I'll take Marshawn Lloyd. To me, I think he's the better back. If you're an NFL team, I hate to say like Kansas City, like somebody where you need like a big play running back, maybe where you throw the football a little bit more. I mean, I do think Jalen, what was it, Jalen Wright? What's his last name? Jalen Wright, yeah.
Tennessee.
From
right?
Tennessee. I mean, I actually expected him to run a better 40 time.
Jalen Wright.
He would be an intriguing fit, I think, with Zamir White. But if I had to pick between the two, I will take Marshawn Lloyd out of USC. I think he's actually a better pass catcher. Let's go to Oscar. Hopefully, sign JJ for 3 years max. You're not going to get a deal more than 3 years. And Jacobs' team knows that they're not going to get a deal for more than 3 years. So if you see anybody out there projecting more than 3, it's just not going to happen. I would say you're looking at 2 years, 3 years, probably somewhere going to be around that $10 million, $11 million per year range. 2 years, they're hoping that they can get fully guaranteed. If it's a 3-year contract, though, expect 2 years fully guaranteed and then the option for the Raiders to be able to get out of it in that final year. Let's go to Spoken. Jonathan Mendica is Spoken 21, pronounced Mendoza. Now I got it.
There we go.
Jonathan the Mendoza line, Spoken 21. See, I like this now. I appreciate that. Like, there are some people that I know what their real name is. Like, when they send me, like Willie Pfister. I know what Willie's real name is.
It's not Willie Pfister?
Believe it or not, it's not. Like, Rebel Montana, real name, not Rebel.
Wow.
Last name's also not Montana.
It's a great name, though.
Oh, it's just you get to know certain names from time to time. So, Spoken, I appreciate that. All right, I am going to refresh my phone one last time. I feel like I keep saying that, but it's the truth. Justin Gilbert, you in? And then I see Savannah Quinn Tana in.
I'd rather have Derrick Henry before Josh Jacobs. Henry's on the down, man.
I mean, I guess my question would be Derrick Henry at $8 million or Josh Jacobs at 10, because I do think Jacobs is going to get more money than what Derrick Henry gets. That I can almost promise you. He's going to get more money. All right, Chip. I am going to send you the list of names that we got.
Cool.
We got 52 names, which means winner gets $260. $10 Venmo right now for an opportunity to win $260. I don't know how it's going to go. But it's going to go. It's going to go. Now, I don't know what race Chip has picked yet. You're cooking it up right now. I got you. Drippy Sports. What's up, Drippy? Daniel, any remote time that Russell Wilson play for the Raiders? mean, there's a chance. Like, I'm not going to sit up here and say it's 0. It's just not part of the Raiders' plan right now. I'm also legitimately curious to see if Wilson signs right away in free agency, or does he take his time and go somewhere else? Because what you don't want, though, if you're Russ, is where you might just lose out on everything. So people are still going to go out and go get him. Like, I think Russell Wilson is going to be more of a priority than Kirk Cousins. Now, if Kirk didn't pop his Achilles, that's a different conversation. But like Kirk Cousins, Russell Wilson are in the same range of not top 10, but they're also like not bottom 16 quarterbacks. They're probably in that 10 to 16 range. Winner would get 260. However, now the winner would get 270, and that's because Jorge Morales in, and then Kalen Newsome also in. 54 people in this race, which means winner would get $270. Did you add those 2 new names? Okay. Now, we did get a lot of entries, and I hope that everyone got in. All right, nobody else. John Maletta. Nobody else. Nobody else. If anybody else sends in anything, it's just going towards... All right, last one. Melendez. Chris. That's it. No more. Winner gets 280. If I get anything else, it's going towards Chuck's fund to go to college. Alex and I have been working really hard to get him into Barkley. I mean, Chuck's been studying his tail off. I'll tell you that right now. Been studying his tail off, though he made a mess yesterday in our apartment. He's got a few sticks, real sticks that he likes to chew on, and he found one. Let's just say I actually thought that he chewed apart our apartment, and then I realized it's just a stick. But
sounds like a good boy, real good boy.
He's a good guy, man. He's a good guy. All right, here we go. Winner gets $280. $280. Shuffle them up. Oscar, I see you're entered late. Too late. I'm going to send it back to you. Actually, Oscar, I accidentally sent to Kate. So if your wife sees, that's on me. Winner gets 280 doll hairs. You ready? You guys ready? Nice little dirt bike race here. 3, 2, 1. Let's get it going here.
They're off.
And they are off here. And I'll tell you what, it's a lag and a half right now. I think we do have a lot of names in here. The problem is, all I know is Anthony Marigil's got the lead. Watch out for Aguirre there down at the bottom. Moshav is in an interesting spot there at the back. Johnny B. Good's got enough names for everyone. Jason E.B. starting to pull up here to the front. Remember, winner gets $280. At the end of this race, we'll also be able to show you all the names. That way you can see all the ranks. But winner gets $280. Loser. When I say loser, whoever comes in last place, butthole pick.
It's close.
Baldassar is taking the lead. Is he going to have enough to hang on? Johnny B. got at the top.
9 seconds.
Kamar Ballantine.
Oh, no,
he just got a flat tire.
Hard.
Is Baldassar going to have enough?
Oh!
Marigil. Jamari Murray.
Out of nowhere.
And now he's just showboating. All right, let's go through all the ranks here. I got Anthony. I'll tell you what, Anthony ran a good race. Salvador Lucas kept it going there. I'm always curious where Anthony Green ends up finished. Luis Rodriguez is an OG. It was a good race. Jamari Murray. I think Jamari is probably in the top 5 of most times entering a race. Who came in last? Who came in dead last? Congrats.
You don't want to be last, or maybe you do.
True.
Maybe you do.
Maybe you do want to come in last.
There's Willie Pfister, 39th.
Yeah, Willie Pfister definitely wants a butthole pick.
Who's last?
Oh, the Wolf. Nathan Wolf. Honestly, I don't know what happened to Ballantine.
54th? He was in second.
Dude,
That was a hard fall off, man. Flat tire something.
Yeah,
that was not good.
Something definitely happened. Appreciate all of y'all for getting in this race. That was a good time. All right, so remember, tomorrow, what we are going to be doing here on the show is, tomorrow is the NFL franchise tag deadline, 4 p.m. Eastern. I might go, I'm not going to say I am going to go live a little bit earlier tomorrow. Maybe if it's just like 30 minutes, probably 30 minutes live earlier. If any breaking news happens, we will make sure that we go before. I appreciate that all y'all tune in to today's show. Also, shout out again to Josh Jacobs' team for taking time out of their day to talk to me today. If you haven't seen that video, it's already on the channel. It is everything, the most up-to-date, most recent things on Josh Jacobs' contract conversations with the Raiders. So if you haven't seen it, please go check it out. I hope all y'all enjoy the rest of your day. I'll see you tomorrow. If anything breaks, though, through the course of the night, you already know we'll be live here on the Raiders Report. Enjoy your Monday. I'll see you tomorrow.